What if everything you thought you knew about a famous family was just the surface? What happens when the curated image shatters, revealing a reality so complex, so troubling, that it forces us to question everything about fame, faith, and forgiveness? The story we're about to delve into isn't just a headline. It's a decades-long saga, a cultural phenomenon that morphed into a national conversation, and a family unit strained under the unimaginable glare of the public eye. And just when you thought the final chapter had been written, a new development sends ripples through the entire narrative. A social media footprint, quiet for so long, suddenly reappears. This isn't just a news update. This is a deep dive into the layers of a story that continues to unfold, a story of the Duggars. To understand the weight of a single social media update, we have to go back. Way back. To the sunny, smiling faces of a seemingly perfect family from Arkansas. The Duggars. 19 children. A reality television empire that spanned years. 19 Kids and Counting wasn't just a show, it was a lifestyle brand, an export of a very specific ideology centered on conservative Christian values, modesty, and the beauty of a massive family. The world watched these children grow up, court, and marry under the bright lights of television. Michelle and Jim Bob Duggar presented a world of harmony, order, and devotion. They were icons to some, a fascinating curiosity to others, but undeniably a fixture in American pop culture. The family's philosophy was rooted in a conservative Christian movement. Courtship replaced dating. Modesty was paramount. The family's livelihood became their life, broadcast for all to see. For years, the narrative was controlled, upbeat, and focused on the blessings of a full quiver. The audience was given access to a world that felt both wholesome and entirely foreign. Birthday parties for 19, grocery shopping in bulk, the famous line of matching clothes. It was a production, but it felt real to the millions who tuned in. The Duggars were, in the eyes of their supporters, living proof that traditional values could thrive in the modern world. They built an empire on this image. But behind every carefully constructed image, there is often a different reality. And in 2015, that reality broke through with seismic force. It was revealed that years prior, long before the cameras arrived, the family had faced a profound crisis. Their eldest son, Josh Duggar, as a teenager, had been involved in incidents of misconduct within the family home. The news was not just shocking, it was devastating. It contradicted everything the public persona had promised. The family had known about this, had dealt with it privately through church and counseling, and had not publicly disclosed it as their star rose. The fallout was immediate and severe. The show, 19 Kids and Counting, was pulled from the air. The family's perfect image was irrevocably tarnished. The conversation exploded beyond gossip, touching on serious issues of accountability, the protection of children, and the potential dangers of insulating a family from secular authorities. For the first time, the public saw the Duggars not as unblemished icons, but as a family grappling with a deeply painful and personal trauma, one that they had attempted to manage within the boundaries of their faith community. Josh Duggar issued a public apology, calling himself the biggest hypocrite ever. He stepped down from his role at a conservative political lobbying group. The family retreated from the spotlight to reassemble the pieces. In the years that followed, the family narrative splintered. Some of the older Duggar children began to establish their own lives, their own families, and their own social media presences, often still within the framework of their beliefs, but with slight variations. Josh Duggar and his wife, Anna, continued to have children and largely lived away from the main media attention, though they remained a point of public fascination and scrutiny. The original show was revamped as Counting On, focusing on the lives of the older children, but the shadow of the past was always there, a silent character in every episode. Then, in 2021, the story took another, even darker turn. Federal authorities arrested Josh Duggar. The charges were not related to the past teenage incidents, but were new, grave, and federal in nature. He was charged with receiving and possessing material depicting the sexual abuse of children. The trial that followed was a national spectacle, drawing the media back to the Duggar saga with intense focus. The evidence presented was technical and disturbing. The family attended court, their faces etched with strain. Jana Duggar stood by her husband's side. After deliberation, the jury returned a guilty verdict on both counts. The sentencing hearing was a poignant and painful chapter. Family members, including his parents, wrote letters to the judge speaking to his character, while the prosecution outlined the severity of the crimes. Josh Duggar was sentenced to over 12 years in federal prison. He was remanded into custody. For many, this felt like a closing of a long, tortuous book. The legal process had reached its conclusion. The figure at the center of so much controversy was now incarcerated, his digital presence gone, his voice silenced from the public sphere. The broader Duggar family continued, with siblings posting about their lives, their children, their joys and challenges, but the name Josh became a quiet, avoided subject in their public shares. This is where the story seemed to end. A tragic arc from reality TV fame to federal imprisonment. A cautionary tale about the perils of hidden sin and the collapse of a public image. The audience moved on. The chapters seemed written. The social media accounts associated with Josh Duggar lay dormant, frozen in time from before the trial. A digital ghost. Until now. Until a very recent, quiet update that sent a shockwave through the communities that follow this saga. A social media profile, long and active, suddenly showed signs of life. Not a post, not a photo, but a simple, digital heartbeat. A change in status. A profile picture alteration. Something that indicated access. Someone had logged in. In the context of this story, that simple action is not simple at all. It is a seismic event in a dormant landscape. Why does this matter? In our digital age, social media profiles are extensions of the self. For someone in Josh Duggar's position, with a sentence stretching for years, that profile is a monument to a past life. Its reactivation, even in the smallest way, raises a torrent of questions. Who did this? How was it done? What was the purpose? Is it a technical glitch, a hack, a management decision by a family member, or something else entirely? The immediate reaction from the public was a mix of shock, anger, and morbid curiosity. It felt like a reopening of a wound many thought had begun to scar over. Let's explore the possibilities, because each one leads down a different path in this ongoing story. First, the possibility of a hack. In the world of social media, unauthorized access is commonplace. High-profile accounts are targets. It's conceivable that a bad actor gained access to the credentials, changed a picture or a setting, perhaps as a prank or an attempt to cause chaos. If this is the case, one would expect the family or their representatives to quickly clarify, to state that the account was compromised and that steps are being taken to secure it or take it down. Silence, in this scenario, becomes telling. Second, account management. It is possible that a family member, likely Jana Duggar or someone acting on behalf of the family, maintains access to the account. Perhaps for archival purposes, perhaps to monitor messages or maintain a digital foothold for a future distant date. A routine login, an accidental click that led to a change, or a deliberate but minor update done without considering the public reaction. Given the intense scrutiny, even a minor action would be seen as a signal, whether intended or not. Managing the digital legacy of someone incarcerated is a complex, emotionally charged task with no rulebook. Third, and this is the speculation that generates the most conversation, is the idea of preparation. Preparation for what? For a future. While his sentence is lengthy, it is not a life sentence. There will be a date, years from now, when he is released. The machinery of public life, especially for a figure so notorious, does not simply restart on a dime. It requires planning. Social media, in whatever form it exists then, will be a part of that world. Could this be a tentative, probing step toward maintaining some form of digital identity for that eventual day? It's a cold, pragmatic thought, but one that must be considered in the calculus of a family that has lived its life publicly for 2 decades. The reaction to this update was instant and visceral. Online forums dedicated to discussing the family lit up with threads analyzing the pixelated changes to a profile picture. Comment sections filled with outrage, sadness, and weary resignation. For the survivors of his past actions, for his sisters, this digital tremor could feel like a fresh violation, a reminder of a pain that is never far away. For his wife, Anna, it could represent a multitude of things: a connection to her husband, a statement of solidarity, or a simple administrative task that blew up beyond any expectation. For his parents, it is another ripple in the ongoing consequences of their family's very public unraveling. This incident forces us to look beyond the single profile and examine the wider digital ecosystem of the Duggar family today. Many of the siblings are active, influential social media personalities. They have built brands, promote products, and share their lives as parents. They have navigated the difficult task of acknowledging past trauma while building their own futures. Some have been more vocal than others about setting boundaries, about the pain of their childhood, and about forging paths that differ from their upbringing. The reactivation of Josh's profile doesn't exist in a vacuum. It casts a shadow, however faint, over their carefully curated online spaces. It invites questions they have no obligation to answer, yet must somehow navigate. Furthermore, it revives the broader cultural commentary that has always surrounded this family. The dialogue about belief systems that emphasize forgiveness and restoration, sometimes at the expense of accountability and justice. The discussion about the effects of growing up on camera without the privacy to process trauma. The examination of how institutions, whether familial or religious, handle allegations of abuse. The Duggar story, from its sunny beginnings to its dark present, has been a case study in all of these things. This small social media event is a pebble that sends out ripples touching all these old debates. Let's consider the legal and corrections context. Federal prisons have strict rules about internet access. Inmates do not have direct, personal access to social media. Any communication is monitored and often goes through third-party services that scan and deliver messages. For an inmate to directly log into a social media account would be a serious violation of rules and likely impossible from within a secured facility. This fact strongly points to the action being taken by someone on the outside. Whether that person was acting on instructions, independently or maliciously, is the core mystery. There's also the human element, often lost in the sensational headlines. The children. Josh and Anna Duggar have 7 children. They're growing up with their father in prison, their family story a matter of public record. Their world is already complicated beyond measure. What does a digital footprint of their father mean for them? Now and in the future? For his siblings, who are also parents, how do they explain this to their own children? The family is inextricably linked, for better or worse. A move made by or for Josh inevitably affects the entire network. The phenomenon of public fascination is also a character in this story. Why do we, the public, watch so intently? Is it schadenfreude? The fall of a moralizing figure? Is it a genuine concern for the victims and the family structure? Or is it the addictive nature of a real-life saga that has all the elements of a Shakespearean tragedy: fame, faith, sin, downfall, and now, a mysterious digital resurrection? This story taps into our deepest curiosities about the duality of human nature, the fragility of reputation, and the long, complicated road of consequences. As we look to the future, the paths diverge. One path, the account is clarified as hacked or managed, and goes dormant again for years. The story fades back into its previous state of a concluded legal drama. Another path, this is the first of more activity. Perhaps messages begin to be posted. Perhaps it becomes a channel for statements. That would ignite a firestorm of a different magnitude, forcing platforms to make content moderation decisions and the family to make impossible choices about engagement. There is also the path of the other Duggars. How will the siblings, particularly the sisters who were victims of his teenage actions, respond to this? They have begun to find their voices, some writing books, others speaking in interviews about their journey toward healing. This new development could feel like a setback, a triggering event. Their resilience has been remarkable, but it is not limitless. Their stories of moving forward, of building healthy marriages and parenting with intention, are the counter-narrative to the tragedy. They represent the possibility of life after profound betrayal.